Today I want to talk about something that's generally useful called a macro. Basically, if you have things you do that are repetitive tasks, so if you have like data you get every week or month or whatever, and you need to run a report on it in Excel, you can build a macro to basically do it with one button or click. So macros are really handy, and the basic way to do them is to record them. So I'm going to record a macro today for building a simple table, and then I'll do a more complex macro the next time I do macros. For this, you're going to need a developer tab up here in Excel. Not everybody's going to have that there. If you do not have a developer tab, you have to go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and you'll see a list of all the things you have on the ribbon, and this developer piece needs to be checked because that's where all the controls are. Okay. And then when you go in here, there's macros, and there's one called record a macro. Now, if you don't want to record a macro, you can write code to do it that way. I am not a master in writing computer code, and in this case, it'd be Visual Basic, but I can do little bits, and I can record my strokes. There's just some tricks you have to learn to record very efficiently. So I'm going to hit the record a macro button. It's going to ask me the name of the macro, and I'm going to put location sums. Alright, so you can assign it to a control key shortcut. So when you open up your book, you just hit that control and that key. Make sure you don't break any other ties that you might use, though, if you're going to do that. So for today, I'm going to leave that alone. But if you use it a lot, that might be handy. You can store the macro in the workbook itself so that only this Excel file can run it. But if you get new Excel files you want to run it in, where you want to save it as your personal macro workbook, so anything on the computer, anytime you open an Excel file, it can run. Okay, and now I'm going to hit OK. Oh, I forgot you have to, can't have spaces in the names. Okay, there we go. So now what I want to do is I want to take each location and see how many cases of salsa we sold. So if you're a company selling salsa to various grocery stores or something like that, and you want to build a table each month to see which locations are buying the most, this would be useful. So first I need to, you don't really need to sort it in this case, but I'm going to, just so things are in alphabetical order. If you don't want to do it that way, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. So I'm going to click F and drag over. I need to click F because all this blank space, I want it all included. So that the macro runs the whole column, A, B, C, D, E, and F, so that if next month we have more than 405 sales, so if we're down here at 416, we aren't bounded at 405, and the macro is missing data. Okay, so typically you want to be able to grab a whole column at a time. So I'm going to highlight all of those. I'm going to go to Data. I'm going to Sort. I'm going to sort by a location. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to take location over here. So I'm going to hit Control Shift down. I should hit all of F. Sorry, not Control Shift down. So again, we want to cover even the blank spaces below. So just click F, hit Control C to copy. Come over here, hit Control V. Oh, I got to go all the way up to 1. Control V. And then I'm going to hit, also in this data tab, remove duplicates. And I'm going to hit OK. And that'll make sure I only have one of each instance. And then I can use a simple sum if number of cases. So if I want to sum the number of cases, I can equals sum if. And it wants the range that I'm looking for and the criteria. So this is going to be my criteria, so I want this to be my range. So I'm going to click F again to be my range. I'm going to hit comma, my criteria. I'm just going to hit the left arrow. So for the first one, I want it to be Atchison. Then when I drag it down, it'll be DeSoto, Kansas City, Lawrence, etc. And then I want it to sum in the range of number of cases, which is D. So this is what I want, F colon F, comma I2, comma D colon D. And then I can close that up. Okay, and it gives me 64. If you want to check to make sure it got it right, so here's where Atchison ends. I can highlight all of this, look down here, sum of 64, but it should work just fine. If I want, I can total that up with all equals, sum all those up. There's 1,261. Tokens sold. You know, and I have this little bitty table. So if that's a table I want to do, or even if I want to turn it into a chart, now I can, and the macro will do that for me. Now I just got to go back to developer, and I hit stop recording, and now that macro exists. Okay? And so if the next month then, so let me close this and save it. Save. Okay. Then when I open that back up, Salsa. So if I get a new report the next month, I can just go to the developer tab again, and I can hit macros, and I can run this macro we just made. Run, and there's my table. Okay, so it'll just repeat all the things that I did. Now again, if you have a data set that is A through L, and you try and run this, it's going to cause some problems because it's only going to work A through F, and then it's going to drop this in the middle of the data. So it needs to be in the same format generally for the macro to work, but again, it's for repeated stuff. So stuff you do frequently and repeatedly. And if you do it all in the same workbook, so if you have multiple things you do in the same workbook over and over again, you can even attach these to things. So say, for instance, if I want a button, so when I open it, I can just click the button and it'll do a certain thing. I can go to Insert, go to Shapes, and pick something like a rectangle, and draw it in here, and right-click, and I can assign a macro now to this button. I can put this macro on there. Okay. And type location sum macro, something like that. Okay. And so then when I close this out and save it, the next time I open it, this is here, I can then just click that button actually, and it will run the macro for me. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. That's a fairly simple one. Anything you do over and over again, though, you can probably build a macro for. You can build logic into it in several different ways. If you're good with text strings, which is what I'll do in the more advanced macro, I'll do it in extra columns. If you're good with the coding, you can usually do it through there as well. So writing your own macro in the Visual Basic editor. But for now, that'll work for simple macros. That's what they look like. And I will see you next time.